right, welcome back to the Caribou Media Outdoors podcast. With me today is Anthony from Ap86 Media. How's it going?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for jumping on here. It's been nice to kind of connect with people in the community, and I remember I think I was trying to rack my brain. The first time we spoke, it was probably over a photo,
Oh yeah.
either of a Kifaru bag or
Uh,
or a prime bow picture or something.
it's probably over Kifaru, kind of going back and forth, and it was probably close to a year ago at this point, maybe even
Yeah,
more. Then I know you had some camera issues and stuff like that, and so we kind of chatted back and forth about
yeah,
camera stuff. So, and you,
yeah.
did your camera take a spill or something
My
like that?
my poor Nikon fell. It was on a tripod. I had a shitty tripod, and one of the leg clips was broken, and I realized that as it was falling, and I was too far away from it to catch it, and the screen was open, and it landed right on the screen and snapped the screen right off, and then
Yeah.
of course I go thinking, it's only a couple years old. I'll just call the camera store and buy another one of the same. Like I don't have any problems with it. And I remember the guy said, "Why would you want that one? It's 2 years old." I'm like, "What's like they change so fast, right?"
They do. Yeah.
And
Like,
thankfully, I jumped to a Canon. I should have started that way. Just the colors are ridiculous. It's so good.
yeah. So if I would have done more research, I don't get me wrong, I love Canon, I love the colors and stuff like that. But the only reason why I picked Canon is because my old neighbor, when I was stationed in Canada, was a huge Canon guy, and he recommended it to me. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole. First, I started with a M50, which is a crop sensor. It was a good little camera, good megapixels. I think it was 30 or something like that, but it was a crop sensor, like a EFS mount or something like that. Quickly grew out of that just because it was tiny. It was a good like
Hmm.
portable camera, but outside of that, it just really I wanted a full frame camera, so I upgraded to a EOS R, and I cut my teeth on that for probably close to a year or something like that. Uh, Kind of grew out of it. I wanted to do more video, which I still have not started doing more video. It's hard to do self videos. So
Yep.
then I picked up a R5, which I'm staring at right
Oh,
now. I've had
nice.
it for probably about 4 or 5 months now, and I love it. It the R is a good camera, but the R5 is like, this is really nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I went to the R7, which I think is the last of the crop sensors,
Hmm.
and then from the 6 up is the full frame. Um, I think.
That makes sense. I've never heard anybody break it down like that, but that actually makes sense.
Yeah, I think there was a significant difference between the price of the R7 and the price of the R6.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was just like, well, I'll get into Canon and then we'll see where it goes, and if I like it, then I'll go up more, but this has been
But
fantastic.
that still takes RF lenses, though, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And it was all the reviews I watched, they were saying, with the image stabilization that's internal and everything, it's amazing for video. So if you're going more towards video than you would be for photos, maybe look at the R7 instead of something else. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where I landed, but it's been great. So
Yeah.
just making little improvements along the way. Like I've got a shotgun mic on it now, but I just bought the DJI mics because it, get it closer to your body so you're not sounding like you're
Yeah.
yelling all the time when you're.
Yeah. What version of the DJI did you get? Because they just came out with a version 2.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
the one I got.
little expensive,
It
so
is, yeah, yeah, but it's
you
got
got to
a.
pay to play, you know.
Yeah,
So
you do. Yeah, it's got an internal memory. So if anything happens to the connection from that goes into the camera, it keeps its own
mhm.
recording internally, so you can just grab it from there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think this spring. So we're still in hunting season for almost another 30 days until the end of January.
Oh
That's when
wow.
it kind of will get a lull. And I think I'll probably do some talking face videos and stuff like that, you know, kind of some gear review. And
Yep.
I might pick up maybe not gear review, but just like talking about like, hey, this is what worked for me this year, you know.
Yep.
Then maybe get some sort of lav mic or something like that. And I know that DJI like comes highly recommended by a lot of
Yeah,
people. So
they're next level for sure.
yeah, well,
Eventually, I want to get one of their drones, but that's baby steps.
yeah, man, I tell you, like camera gear, content creation gear is not cheap.
No.
And if, there are cheaper options out there, but I don't know. Sometimes there's like you gotta weigh like the cheaper to the and not even the top of the line stuff. You know, it's like I actually updated my insurance for how much camera gear I have and stuff like that, and it was like,
Mhm.
hey, my wife Priscilla, it's like you need to leave the room.
I need to scream into a pillow, right?
Yeah, yeah. But she's pretty supportive. She knows that it's like a huge hobby of mine.
Mhm.
Right now, it's just a hobby, you know, and eventually, like down the road, I'd love to get some sort of or something like that, you know. But now, active duty Air Force, I've been in for 19 and a half years, stationed to Oklahoma, the schoolhouse for the C-17s, and been flying on the C-17 for about 11 years now.
Oh wow.
And I got about a year and a half left before I can retire. I don't know. We'll see
Oh,
where it kind of goes. I might retire at 22, and I might stay a little longer.
that's
So
that's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, I've got 9 years left of my
yeah,
job before I'm fully out the door, and it's like so close, but still far away. You
no,
know, it's one of those
yeah,
things where
it's
you talk to the old guys when you start, and you're like, "Oh man, 30 years is a long time," and then it's like, then you blink, and it's like you're the guy that people are coming to for advice, and you're the old
yeah,
guy of the group, and it's like, how did this happen?
yeah. There's been a couple times where I walk around work and stuff like that, and like it's a E7, which is a master sergeant, and somebody like come up to me and ask me a question, and I'm like, I don't know, ask him, you know, like
That's right. Oh, let me
man,
find answers for you.
yeah, let me get back to you on that, you know, it's important stuff. So
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like I look back at it and it's just like I remember I joined in 2005 and it's just like I got in a lot of trouble along the way, a lot of trouble, and I'm really close to getting kicked out a couple different times, and but made it through, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I love it. So um, pays the bills, family's happy. Got to see a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Stationed up there, not far from you in Trenton. What is that? Probably about 3 hours away. So uh, flew with the Canadians for 3 years. Did a couple deployments with them and stuff like that too. So
Oh, cool.
it was a good experience. Yeah.
And then when did the photography start?
I picked up. So actually, kind of fun fact. I've always kind of been interested in photography. I was thinking about this as a talking point. I've always had a like in the back of my mind an interest in photography. Um, and when I was stationed in Alaska, like I had like a little pocket camera or whatever. I'd go around like take photos and stuff because it's Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't think anything of it, and I never really picked up photography. I never picked up like editing or anything like that. But then when I was stationed in Canada, my old neighbor, this is a knock for current spaces. He's huge on Instagram and stuff like that. I'd go over to his house and we'd drink garage beers and take photos and stuff like that of like knives or EDC stuff or this, that, and another,
Hmm.
and just kind of getting pointers and stuff like that. That's where I picked up photography um, more, you know, and that was probably close to 2.5, 3 years now. So,
Okay.
and I jumped off that cliff, you know, like some people kind of put their toes in the water a little bit, and
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
Full bore.
yeah, uh,
Yeah. If you're gonna do something, don't do it half-assed, right?
yeah. A couple conversations with my wife about a credit card charge here and there. So, yeah, a couple nights on the couch, but she's pretty supportive about it, like I said. So,
And then when did you start shooting a bow, and how did that kind of transition to bow hunting for you?
oh man, uh, So when I was in middle school, so I was born and raised in Kansas, about 6 hours from where I'm stationed now. Um, there was a rinky-dink 3D archery range that was connected to a like a RV gas station type of deal. And my stepdad used to take me there, and I had a, man, it was like a Golden Eagle Brave or Brave Golden Eagle or something like that, compound bow. I couldn't shoot more than like 15, 20 yards. And so it was around when I was in high school, so probably close to 30 years ago or something like that. I picked up archery then, and slowly, but obviously a big gap from then
Yeah.
to now. Otherwise, I'd be right up there with Levi Morgan or something,
Yeah,
So,
right.
uh, so then later on, I had that bow for a long time. Stopped kind of like my junior senior year in high school. Uh, I never hunted when I was in Alaska, which was dumb. I went fishing a little bit while I was stationed there. Uh, Stationed in California for 5 years. I never hunted there either. I started kind of wanting to hunt, and kind of
Yeah.
like that spark was there, but California is like, eh. Um, then I got stationed in South Carolina, of all places. East Coast hunting sucks unless you have really deep pockets.
Mm.
And I joined a hunting club where everybody, like on around the club, kind of ran dogs, and everybody used rifles and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bow hunt. Or bow hunting over a corn pile, but still is bow hunting. So,
Yep.
and that was about 5, maybe 6 years ago. And since then, it's like all I think about is archery or hunting. Um,
Hmm.
then obviously a couple times sprinkled in between then and high school, or high school and then, I would go back to Kansas and go deer hunting, rifle hunting with my grandpa and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's cool.
hunting has just like always been in the back of my mind from school. It's just what we did, no reason we did. It's not like we had to have the meat, otherwise we're gonna starve or anything like
Right,
that,
right, right,
but
right.
just something I've always enjoyed.
Just
I've
preferred.
always, whether deer hunting, bird hunting, squirrel hunting, my grandpa, he would take me, out to the lake, and he'd sit out in the truck, and it's like, all right, go down in this uh, ditch over here by the lake, and he's just sit in the truck and drink beer for 3 or 4 hours and take a nap while I was out there murdering squirrels. So, and it was just the greatest time, just being out there
Mhm.
by yourself. I've always liked that. Even just like I said, shooting squirrels with the 22 and stuff like that. I just love
Yeah.
being outside. So
Yeah, it's where
yeah,
kind of for me, it was, I was like 7, we were on a family trip at this, um, it's like a resort run by the YMCA. It was a lot of outdoorsy kind of stuff. They had, like, canoeing and swimming and archery and, they'd have, like, a schedule for the kids, right? So, under the door of your room in the morning, it would say, at 2 o'clock, kids aged, 12 to 14 come to the behind the gym for archery or whatever. So when I started, I was around 7, loved it, and then did it every year when we were on this trip. We kept going back to the same spot. And then my mom had a friend who had a farm, and I'd go up whenever she'd go visit, I'd go with her, and her friend was like, "We want to chat and drink coffee." So she'd go into the broom closet and pull out like this $30 fiberglass bow.
yeah,
It gave me like 3 arrows that were missing fletchings and stuff, and she's like, "There's a hay bale somewhere out there for the horses. Go shoot the hay bale." So it was like a slow progression, right? And then school, they had an archery team. Again, school didn't have a lot of money, didn't throw a lot of money at the archery team, but we tried with Olympic recurves. I think I went to one tournament and got kicked out of the first round, but it was fun, right? It was kind of like, and then it
yeah,
wasn't until after that a friend of mine who I was on the archery team with calls me years later, and he's like, "I just went to Bass Pro and bought a compound bow. You need to buy one of these." And he brought it
yeah,
over to my house, and I was like, "Yeah, but I'm right-handed, but I'm left-eye dominant, so I shoot left. So I shoot rifles left. Or like, I use everything, right? Everything's left. I know, I know." So he brings this left-handed compound or right-handed compound, and I'm not gonna be able to hit anything. He's like, just try it, just try it, just try it. And I remember he had these aluminum arrows that he said were really expensive. Of course, I'm missing the target by like 3 feet, and
Yep.
they're like flying off into the cornfield. But then it was like it kind of lit a fire and moved in the country, and everybody up here is a hunter, so
Hmm.
it just kind of was a slow progression, and it didn't come from a hunting family. I just got into it, and then first year I had the bow, I went up to my wife's um, cousin has 300 acres up near Algonquin Park,
Hmm.
and had a bear walk out 16 yards in front of me. I'm in this tree stand and just watching, his movements and him. It's just first bear I'd ever seen with my bare eyes in the wild, right? And
Yeah.
took a shot at it and hit him a little high. He took off running. We never ended up finding him, but that was like the defining moment for me that I was like, I'm going to do this forever. Like,
Yeah.
this is just going to be it for me, right? So,
So actually, the first deer that I've ever killed with the bow was actually probably uh, 6 or 7 years ago when I was in high school. I wounded a couple because we're using like the rangefinders. You had a dial on the top and you had to line up the pictures.
yeah,
And I don't even know how accurate these were, but that's what our rangefinder was. I remember shooting a doe. I thought it was like 20 yards. It probably was like 25, maybe even 22. I had to lob an arrow to get that far. I didn't even
yeah,
know if I had I just had like a 3 pins, and it
yeah.
didn't even have a housing on it or anything like that. It was just 3 brass pins that came out. It's just so inaccurate compared to like now. I'm just like,
Yeah, they're
well, I
amazing.
I say I'm inaccurate or more accurate, but I shot over the top of a back of a cow elk today, so I
Oh,
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. She basically, I saw the herd 'cause they were working their way north, and there was a plum thicket in the middle of this pasture. And so I went to the right, hoping they would come to the right of that plum thicket. And instead, they went to the left side of it. So it was about 90 yards at that point. So I, I what did I do? I was like jumped up and I started running, not really running, but kind of moving after them whenever I thought they couldn't see me. About halfway to the herd, there was about 12 of them. Got hooked, and they took off kind of running, but one was kind of straggling behind. And I thought they were about 70 yards when I shot, about 50. And I deflected off a limb too, so it just deflected arrow. I was like, well, there's that. So it's bowing. I was picking up my arrow, texting everybody, like, I just missed an elk. And then it was probably like a 2-year-old or something like that. Wasn't even a mature cow. Came in at 35 yards and broadside. It was just sitting there staring at me. I was like, if you're a little bit older, I'd shoot you, and I wouldn't even hesitate. I didn't even, I just pulled on my phone and just like recording it. So just
mm.
stuff like that you don't get with a rifle. Like if you shoot
Yeah, yeah.
something with a rifle, it's like everything's gone. With the bow, they scattered and there's like, what was that? And she ended up coming back around. So yeah, I
Mhm.
love it. I would love to get into recurve, but I've got 3 kids and full-time job and stuff
It's a whole nother dedication.
like I said, once I get into something, I do it pretty hard. So
Yeah. So, are you shooting the Prime RVX?
yep, currently that's what I'm shooting. RVX 32.8 inch, uh, 70 pounds. I do wish it's such a smooth drawing
Yeah.
bow. I wish I would have gone 80 pounds.
Mhm.
That's my only regret. I used to shoot at Matthews. It was Matthews Vertex before this bow,
Okay.
and it was at 75 pounds and a little more aggressive cam. And sometimes in the middle of winter, it was a little kind of hard to pull back. So I was like sky drawing, trying to like pull it back for even a pig once. And
Yeah.
I don't even know why I was trying to draw back in the pig. It was like 70 yards away. I wasn't going to shoot at it, but actually, I ended up getting down and stalking that pig, and I shot it at 35 yards. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it's amazing the changes, and I don't know how they do it year after year, but I think the same year the verdicts came out, the Hoyt Helix Ultra was out, and that's the one I bought. That was my first one. And I remember the marketing had me so hard because I got sucked into YouTube videos. And then, of course, I'd get the Bowhunting magazine, and it was always, always, always the first page you flip over was the Matthews ad, and the last page was the Hoyt ad. And so I
Yeah.
was like, one or the other, I don't know, right? Like Hoyt would come out with all their production videos, and I'd be like, I want a Hoyt. And then Matthews would come out with their stuff. You're like, maybe I want a Matthews. I don't know. So
It's hard.
I go into the store, and it's like I was able to pick them up and feel it out, and I ended up going with the Hoyt. But what I was going to get to was the things about that bow, and that's only 2019. I went to TAC this year in Pennsylvania and shot the Alpha X when it was new. Obviously now it's a year old, but I drew that thing back and I was like, oh my God, this is nothing like the Hoyt that I
Hmm.
used to have. Like
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know how they do it year after year, coming out with even the smallest little adjustments, and it can just make a world of difference. But
So I've always said this. I think I had the Vertex for like 3 or 4 years. Before that, I had a couple of different Hoyt bows. Yeah, I think I had 3 different Hoyt bows, then the Vertex, then the Prime. But it's if you if you go from we'll just say 24 to 25, I don't think they really make a huge difference. But if you go from
mhm,
24 to 26 or 27, like skip 2 years or something,
yeah,
3 years, then you're like, oh my
yeah.
goodness, this is a Tesla, and man,
That's
this
right.
thing will like park itself now all of a sudden. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, uh,
Well, when I first started getting into bow hunting, I binge watched every episode of Solo Hunter, and Prime was
yeah,
like that was the bow I wanted, but we didn't have anybody around here that sold one. There was no dealers anywhere, and then one opened up not too far away a couple of years after I had the Hoyt. So I go down to the store, of course, because I'm left. I shoot left. Nobody ever stocks left-handed
yep,
bows
yeah,
anywhere. So the guy's like, "Well, we got a right-handed one you can hold if you want and see what you think." I'm like, "This is my life. Like it was the same thing with the Hoyt, right? I just
you and your
had the
devil hand.
that's right. So I picked it up, and I remember it was so like with the center grip, right? Everything
Yeah,
is so balanced. Like I say this over and over and over again. It was like I was holding a hammer upside down. Like
yeah,
all the weight was it just sat there. No stabilizer, no sight, nothing. It just sat perfectly in my hand. And then I couldn't even draw it back until I ordered one and it came in. And I remember pulling it back and it was like it was a little heavy at the front, and I'm waiting for like some sort of a dump, and it's like,
mhm.
doom, you're just
Just a
there.
continual,
You just continual,
yeah,
you just hit the back wall. And I was like, oh wow,
yeah.
it's different. I like it. It's amazing. So shot that for a couple of years, and then um shot Elite last year. So, but
I'm pretty lucky. There's a shop that's about 5 minutes away. They carry Matthews and Prime. So Prime, Matthews, and Bear, if I remember right. You'll get other bows too, I think. It's a pretty small shop, but he's pretty handy to have. I like
yeah,
doing my own work on bows, but like if it's changing out the strings or something like big, then it's just like, hey man, you want to knock this out for me, and I'll take some
that's right.
video of you doing it. So
That's right. That's right. I mentioned the store for you.
yeah, uh, but he's a pretty good guy. I'm very thankful for him. That's this next year, starting February, he's gonna start doing 3D tournaments and stuff like that.
Oh,
3D
cool.
shoots, and we don't have anything like that. Closest shoot is an ASA tournament, and it's about an hour and a half, close to 2 hours away.
Mm,
And it's just like it's hard to get permission from the wife to drive that far to be gone all day, outside of hunting season. So
mhm.
um, and so this will be local, and it'll be cool to have something, something else to do during the off season. So
Yeah, I started
yeah.
doing that last year. I met the guys from the Full Draw podcast, CJ and Gary, and they live about well, they're kind of scattered. One brother
Hmm.
lives in Ottawa, and the other one's living near Guelph. But he was saying they kind of come together and go to these tournaments. And he's like, "Oh, you should come." I said, "I always wanted to go, but I've never done it because I've never ended up going on my own." And they're like, "Oh, well, this," they mentioned a couple they were going to, so I went with them. And man, it is awesome to
It's a
do
blast.
during the off season. Not only is it fun, you run into the same people at every tournament, and you
Yep.
make friends with people, and everybody supports each other, and you're in the environment shooting at a foam animal in the space that you would be hunting in, right? So it's
Yeah.
just that extra added practice. It's awesome, and then you're that much better when hunting season rolls around because you've been shooting all year, right?
Hmm.
And better than just shooting at you know a square or a circle in your backyard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
so
definitely helps with the angles and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's just something about shooting a bow. Uh, I own a couple rifles or whatever, but I don't like shooting them. I don't like going to a range where there's other people because the continual concussion of it. It's kind of like, just I don't like it. Not to mention it's expensive to go shoot rifles and stuff, or ammo.
yeah,
You can't shoot this bullet down range and go pick it up, but I can go pick up this arrow and I'll shoot it 100 times, or
yeah,
until I hit a rock or something like that. So
yeah.
then I'll shoot it that one time. So uh, yeah, it's definitely fun, and it's like one of my outside of hunting, photography, just shooting a bow. It's one of my favorite things to do, and to have an actual range close to me. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, this is gonna be big. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna help as much as I can to kind of help it grow because we need something else to do here. So
yeah.
Southwest Oklahoma is hot, and there's nothing else to do during the summer. So
And you recently were lucky enough to get your hands on a prime form. What would you
yeah,
think of that?
it's
Shooting that?
cool. I'm excited to shoot one, to get one, I guess. Um, it's a cool bow. Like the thought of having the carbon fiber rods go into aluminum and stuff like that, and especially a 34 ATA to weigh just, I think it's right at 4 pounds or sub 4 pounds.
Yeah, 4.1, I
Uh,
think. Yeah.
that's a light bow for 34 ATA, 34 hybrid is what they're calling it. So I'm
Hmm.
excited for that. It seems, I don't know, understand it. Maybe it's just because my bow has been shot a lot. It seemed a little stiffer through the draw, but still that continual draw, the core cams and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because
But
the cam's
still,
the same.
uh, outside of that, like it'll be fun. It'll be a good bow.
And
Uh,
for those who are on the fence about the look of it, because I know there's going to be some people that'll look at it and be like, "I'm not shooting that." They
I've got,
still.
it's like a little 50-50. There's a lot.
Well, I
It's
think it's
a
like
controversy,
I think
So
it's more of like a shock because your brain is like, "What am I looking at?" Because you're used to either seeing all aluminum or all carbon. This is the
yeah,
first combination marriage of the two. So it takes a second. You're like, wait, what? And then you're like, okay, that makes sense. But then to the people, like there was some people online that were like, oh, that's going to break and it's going to split apart. I'm thinking, you are talking about G5. This company has been manufacturing for generations. Not only do they do archery stuff, they're making medical supplies. They
hmm,
have their hands in all different kinds of metalworks, right? Like they know what they're doing and they over engineer everything. They're not going to put out something that's going to break. Like watching that video of it in that machine where they're putting all the pressure on it and it got to like 1,400 pounds and it just slipped off the thing.
it slipped off. It didn't actually break. Yeah, you're
Didn't
like,
actually break.
oh, okay, all right. I
Okay.
guess it's good. That that's good enough for me. So, uh,
Yeah. And I think they kind of shocked everybody. I don't know if it, I mean, I think people think carbon's carbon, but they don't realize that if you cut open a lot of the carbon bows that are on the market, you're going to find some
there's
metal in
metal in
there
there.
because they
Yeah.
have to attach things, right? So I don't know. It should. It's definitely a game changer. It's definitely getting a lot of hype. So we'll see how things go when it's they're pumping them out. But
I think also that they've come out with more colors instead of the tan and the black, super contrasting with each other and stuff like that. But I've had a couple people reach out to me and say like the all black ones, or like black with tan riser or tan limbs and stuff like that. And they're like, okay, it's growing on me. So I think. at first that kind of has that like stormtrooper look, or it's like black and white or something like that.
Right,
People are
right.
like, ugh. But I think it's an eye turner, kind of like your dialed hat. Some people are like look at a dialed sight and they're like, oh my goodness, but it's not for everybody. It's
Mhm.
okay to be different. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and shoot
they're
whatever, shoot whatever you like. So
yeah. Yeah, there's so much to choose from out there,
yeah,
and it's funny, like when a company does something maybe slightly different, like Dieled's done a number of things to that site that is different than what's on the market now. You've got the bubble at the top, you've got the rail slides on an angle, and it just, you know, one good thing about them is that when they came out with the Arxos, there was a number of things that people had that were complaints about, or maybe not complaints, but things that they'd like to see changed or upgraded. They
mm,
listened to all of those things, and they came out with the proof, which is doing really well. So
yeah.
it's
I would listen to the Working Class Bow Hunter whenever I was going elk hunting today. It's about an hour drive, and I was listening to their podcast and he was talking about the proof sight compared to the Arxos. I
mhm,
shot the Arxos for a little bit and was kind of like, it's cool design and stuff like that. I liked the looks of it, but then
yeah.
kind of moved on. But I'm excited for the proof. I think it'll be a good because I definitely listened to their people
Mhm.
and made some needed changes, and it's like the second design. So um,
What are you
I think it'll
shooting
be
now?
good. Currently, I have the Booney Spot Hog
Oh, okay.
Booney. So
Is
yeah.
it as heavy as everybody claims,
Um, it's lighter
or is it
than
lighter than?
what I have. I had the Fast Eddie. So I had the Fast Eddie XL, right? Was
Okay.
with the tournament bar. Um, but then I got the Booney with the Picatinny mount, and it's lighter, definitely lighter than
Mhm.
than that. So uh, that's what I currently shoot. But there's some stuff in the works. So
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah, well, you can't, like, everybody I talk to who's shooting Spot Hog says they're bulletproof. You can drop it on a rock and it's gonna be fine.
yeah.
Like, they're pretty,
It is,
well constructed.
uh, yeah, I mean, it is well built, well constructed, and stuff like that. It's just, I can't sit still very long sometimes. So I like to tinker, man,
Yeah.
uh, and I like taking photos of stuff that looks cool and stuff. Yeah, uh, yeah.
What kinda arrows are you running for hunting?
So I shot the Easton 5 mil Axis tournament grade, pro grade. I don't remember exactly which. The point 001.
Oh, the
I
match
shot
grade?
those. Yeah, there we
Mhm.
go. Match grade. I shot those for probably 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
I love those arrows. They've been great. The only complaint is they're heavy, and I've only 28-inch draw, so my arrows were right about 515, 525 with the Luminok
Yep.
on or Halo or whatever I was shooting at the time. So I went over to the 4 mils this last year, and I'm down to about 450. I like that number. I like that number a lot. I'm getting right up there. It's about 280 feet per second,
There you go, yeah.
and I'm really liking those numbers. So
Well,
uh,
you'll be happy with the 5.0s that are coming out
I
because
know,
they are spectacular
yeah,
from what
I've
I've
heard some
seen.
good things. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't got a hold of a set,
No, I haven't
but
either, but I look around trying to order them and nobody has anything yet. So,
that's what I keep on hearing. I've been a Easton guy since I got into bow hunting and
yeah,
stuff like that.
me
I
too.
don't. There's no other arrow, is there? Right? So,
I that's all I've ever shot. Like, I
yeah,
started with the Axis, same thing with you, did it for 4 or 5 years, and then, the Sonics came out, and what I liked about them is that the brass insert would just hit right up to the edge of the arrow. You didn't have
yeah,
to worry about pushing anything in. It was like, not that I had a problem with that, but it was just easier, cleaner, just boom,
hmm,
just easy to set up. The extra size, the extra millimeter didn't bother me whatsoever. And they were great price. They're like, I think they were like $140 for a dozen. So I shot those for a while, and then I was going to buy more, and I were sold out everywhere. So I went to the 6.5s, which are like the standard size arrow. and
Yeah.
they're great, but I was gonna change from these and then maybe go back to the Sonics, and then I kept seeing those experimental labels on some people were shooting them, and I was just like, "What is that? Maybe I should wait. I'm gonna wait because something's cooking in the lab, right?" So,
Yeah.
and then I thought to myself, what is it that they would do to the lineup or add to the lineup? And I was thinking, well, the Axis has been around for a long time. Maybe they're going to upgrade the 5 mil, and sure enough, they sure did, and
Yeah.
they even lightened up the FMJs. So
Yeah. That interested me as well. So it'd probably be about what I'm shooting now, but
yeah,
FMJ, so
so the
I've always
FMJs,
I always thought the FMJs were kind of a cool concept and stuff like that. I never shot them just because it's like 10 or 11 grains at 300 spine or something like that. It's like that's a log. And so yeah, unfortunately 28-inch draw. I'm not a speed demon by any means. So I try to keep them about 450 grains, something like that.
yeah.
So
And
it's
do you change broadheads a lot too, or do you
uh
try and stick to
so
one?
I this year I'm sticking to the G5 Mega Meats. Been a huge fan of those. They're just absolutely devastating. Um, I've saw a couple. Well, my buddy last year, he shot a bull, and it did great work. And it was just a massive blood trail, right? And then
Mhm.
I used it on a couple deer last year, and it did fine. I've shot 4 deer with them this year, and 2 or 3 of the shots were kind of questionable, and everything's died within. I double lunged a doe, and she ran 125 yards, and it was a hatchet wound through her side like this,
Oh my god.
and she still ran 125 yards, right?
Just want to take a quick break to talk to you about a couple of things that I've been using that I think might benefit you. One is this Numa Outdoors gear. This is in their Kaza OV pattern, which is great whitetail pattern when you're up in a tree in the fall and late season. They also have a Kaza pattern which has more green in it, which is good for spring through to the fall. Numa has given me a code to give to you of Caribou Media 20, which will save you 20% at checkout. Another product here that I've been using for years now is the Bulldog targets. This is a Canadian made target. They're made in Manitoba. They have a lifetime warranty. I've used that warranty twice now on a couple of my larger targets that are outside. It's very simple, very easy. These targets are 2-finger removal every single time, which is incredible. Field point only target. Bulldog's been gracious enough to give me a 20% discount code to give to you at checkout. Use code BD20-Caribou-Media. That'll save you 20% on these awesome targets. Now back to the show.
But then I shot
Crazy.
that big, we'll call him a 9-point because he was a broken 10. I shot him a little far back, and as soon as it hit him, it was just instant, just spraying blood in it. I could see it. It looked like somebody was with legitimately a bucket from the tree stand, and he ran 60 yards. And like I said, it was a little back, so he was kind of doing like the, and just it was the first deer I've ever seen, just
Just
right there. And I was
topple
just like,
over. He was empty.
do I need to put another one in him? Then I was just like, all right, I'm gonna stay here just in case he gets up, and he never got up. I was just like,
Mhm.
wow, that's crazy. So then before that buck, I shot so in Oklahoma we're allowed 2 bucks. I shot a smaller 8-point, still kind of cool. It had like acorns on like one of his sides and stuff like that, and a couple of his beams. Cool buck. I shot him at 40 yards, but he was kind of chasing a doe. Tried to get him to stop. He didn't stop. Jumped the string. Blah 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 blah. I hit him back. I hit him in the like kind of the femoral on the back hip,
Mhm.
and I heard him crash like within 4 or 5 seconds of me shooting.
Wow.
Um, Originally, I thought I missed just because I was like, that didn't sound right. Didn't get like the tink or the thunk, of it hitting like the thoracic cavity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but then I heard crashing, and I was like, I think he's dead, but I wasn't sure, so I waited it out for 2 hours until it got dark. Got down, couldn't find my arrow. It has the thing I'm shooting. Uh, I can't remember which knocks I'm shooting right now, but I couldn't find it. It was kind of looking everywhere. Then I was like, oh, there's a speck of blood. Then I kind of went behind this bush, and it was just the same thing, just gushing out everywhere. So I don't know. I don't know what they do, but it is just, it wreaks havoc.
Yeah.
I've been super impressed with the mega meats. And anybody like asks me like what broadhead I would recommend, is just like mega meats. I won't mess with anything else. As long as you stay away from the shoulder or anything hard, just like you're putting a baseball through, so it's like it's gonna die,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Aaron Snyder on a podcast talk about shooting a doe with a mega meat, and he said as it was running away, he could hear all the blood sloshing inside of it.
That happened to the buck I shot, and I didn't get it on camera, and I wish I would have, because it was just like, I don't know if it was like midgets inside of it, just like throwing its blood while it was like running or something. I don't know. It was insane. And then I shot another doe a little further back. This was about 3 weeks ago, and kind of the same thing. Just gushing out blood, and she died within 60 yards. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like they're devastating. I won't shoot anything else, so it puts them on the ground. So
yeah, I played around with the T2s a little bit as well.
I've heard good things about those. Yeah.
I shot them into some ballistics gel for a broadhead testing video I did.
That'd be fun.
It almost went all the way through. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
It was great. Just crazy, devastating. You can't.
I know a bunch of.
There's so many out there. Like, gone are the days where oh, they're not going to open, or the whole mechanical issue people had that steered them clear of it. That's such a dead issue now. Like,
it'll open.
It'll open.
Just stay away from the shoulder. Like, you don't want to hit that big joint on anything. I mean, it's a bone the size. Like, yeah, you can hit it. I have the bone deflecting technology or whatever else, or this, that, and another. But it's just like, just stay away from that big bone or the scapula, and you'll be fine. Yeah, and like you said, there's so many different broadheads out there. It's just like, well, what are you driving, Ford or Chevy? So it's like,
yeah, that's right.
Are you driving a Prius? Or are you one of them guys? Or
you can't go wrong. You really can't.
No. It's just practice, and also like shoot what makes you feel good as well. Be confident with what you're shooting, and that's it. That's what you need to do. Practice with what you're shooting, be confident with what you're shooting, do the animal some justice too. You don't want to go out wounding everything and be able to find it, recover it. So
it's also a good idea to, if you're going to be in a tree stand, practice shooting from that angle.
Yeah,
because that's what did me in the first bear I shot too high. I'd never shot from an elevated position before. It's always been straight level ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always good to practice in the gear that you're going to be hunting into, because that can change.
Especially
face mask or something over your face, that's going to change your anchor point, like everything, right?
Oh yeah, especially you're shooting with out of a saddle. That's a whole nother. Which I've been thinking about picking up a saddle for next year. I'm always hunting public, especially I've been talking to Heat Smoke, I think it was, about his saddle setup and stuff like that, like self-filming, it seems like, because everything is right here in front of you instead of I'm in a tree stand. So first I've got to stand up, and they got my camera right here. So then I got to stand up, and now it's down here by my belly button. So then I got to kind of move it around, or this, that, and another. It's just cumbersome. So I think I'm going to be going after a saddle, I think, next year.
Yeah.
I don't know which company. There's so many out there, and so many different people like this, that, and another. So I'm going to have to go down that rabbit hole, I think. So
yeah, it's my thing was that when I started, I was going up to that same family property I talked about. I had a ladder stand there, and that was it. I'd go up there for a week in the spring for bear and a week in the fall for deer. If I didn't get anything, that was it till next year, right?
mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have more of a opportunity to be mobile and move around a bit more. And so I started looking at, hang on stands and stuff and get away from the ladders. And then I found XOP. Their stuff's pretty light, and so I got one of them, and then they started making a saddle, so I transitioned to their saddle, and it's just been like night and day. Like the amount you can basically have like a 270-degree access to that tree. Like you're not stuck
Yeah.
in that one position. And like you said, and if you're working a camera, it's even better. You can get all kinds of different angles and
Yeah.
move around. And like I've got a 4th arrow camera arm on there that I use, and it's awesome. I love it.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, you're in different positions. You need to practice shooting from a lot of those different positions too, because the last thing you want to do is be drawn back for the first time in a saddle in a cumbersome, maybe not cumbersome position, but one you're not used to shooting out of. So just practice, right?
What's gotten me this last year, so what I do, I hunt public, like I said, and I got 3 stands that are permanent, but they're out there, and I have them locked on, chained on, whatever, but then I pull the sticks. So if I go out
Yeah.
and hunt the stand, I'll put the sticks up, then I'll get up in it. I'm getting pretty quick at it, stuff like that. Or just work out. Then I have a mobile setup as well. It's an Elevate stand. I don't remember which one, but it's relatively light. I think it's the whole setup sub 20 pounds or something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm able to walk in and stuff. But man, I see that the saddle setups and stuff like that, the mobile and filming and everything else. I think
It's even more compact. Yeah. You just
yeah.
shove it right in your
Yeah.
bag, or some people
Yeah.
even wear it in, right? It's
Oh
just
yeah. I think that's
it's
probably what I'd end up doing, just so I'm not fumbling with all the ropes and stuff and the actual saddle at the tree stand. What's gotten me twice this year, actually, not getting into a stand or not getting into the tree, is shooting. Actually, 3 times, including that elk I shot today or shot at. Is hitting limbs. I don't know.
mm,
I shot at a probably the biggest deer I've ever shot at, and I drew back on him. He was working a scrape. He came in 18 yards, dead to rights. Should be hanging on my wall. This is actually my wife's
right
office,
there.
but
Right there.
it would have been perfect right there, man. Just a huge split G2, just
Yeah.
massive tall tines and stuff like that. He's still walking. I got a camera. I got a photo of him earlier today, but he's a big deer and hit the tree, and so I was shooting arrows down here, aiming down, and I actually hit the tree that I'm in, hit one of the limbs that I was like in that tree,
Mm.
and it blew up the arrow. He bound out to like 50 yards, kind of like, what was that? And kind of looked back at me and flickered his tail
It's
and kind of
making all
walked
that
off.
noise. Yeah.
Meanwhile, like I think it was like this finger. I think the arrow, because it was only about 6 inches in front of the arrow when it went off, something like that. Like it
Mhm.
only left the bow a couple inches or whatever, and then the arrow just shattered. And like I was checking myself for blood. Like I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what happened? I was like, like Call of Duty style or something. So no, but I was fine. The arrow ended up finding that this much of the arrow down below in the tree stand and stuff like that. So it was like, oh, all right. So then I came back and that limb is not there anymore, So I
Something
don't
happened.
know
I don't
what
know. I
happened.
don't know.
So yeah, uh, yeah,
Were you
that's
sorry, go ahead.
no,
Were you using the Manimal for most of your hunts, the Kifaru Manimal?
yeah, I've used that strictly for elk in October, Aoudad last March a couple times, which I never saw one. Elk in October, deer since October, and I used it the last couple of days for elk as well. It's for the kind of hunting where I do, where it's just like, all right, I'm gonna go out, maybe go a couple miles, or back to the truck here in a couple hours. It's perfect.
Mhm.
Just throw a kill kit in there, a tripod, the Kifaru bino harness as well up front. I love that thing because put in the cell phone pocket. I was shooting the marsupial gear for the longest time,
Mhm.
especially in a tree stand, and so then I put my cell phone right here, right? But then I pull out my binos, and then I was just like, what am I doing here? So it's like always kind of getting in the way and just kind of fumbling around with that. So then I went back to a Kifaru harness, and I haven't looked back. I love that thing.
Yeah.
Just because having your cell phone there, I can put it on vibrate, walking through the woods, and I can hear it vibrate, or I can feel it or whatever. And everything is right there.
It's also cool
Yeah.
that you can have a portable charging battery in the front and then feed the cord through into the main pocket, charge your phone or whatever
So
else
I
you got.
have this iPhone 16 is the newest iPhone. Uh, like unless I'm on my phone for like 15 hours, then I never run out of battery on that thing. So luckily I haven't had that problem. So
Yeah.
before I upgraded this, I could only go about 8 hours. So yeah.
Going back to hitting limbs and stuff, the rangefinder I found this year, the Loopold, it's awesome because it's got a little hash mark that it'll show you, like when you range, it'll basically show you where the peak of you have to put in. You basically have to sight it into your arrow, but once you're set, it'll tell you where the highest point of where your arrow is going to peak. It'll give you a little hash mark. So wherever you're shooting, if you can see if there's going to be an obstruction in the way, I can't get away from that. It's so handy.
So I have that same rangefinder. I just never set it up.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. And I have the Archer's Advantage program and everything else, and I've never set it up. And it bit me in the butt again today.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I need
comes in handy.
I don't know. I don't know why I haven't done it. I know it has that program. I have a draw board. I could take the measurements and everything else to do everything. I just have not done it. That's on my to-do list. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
You're gonna do that tomorrow. There you go. You were taking some pictures of the Jackstone knife from Montana Knife Company. Have you been using that a fair bit?
Oh yeah, I've used it. One elk in October. The 4 deer, 5 deer this year. I love it. It's been great. I like the ergonomics on it. Then also, especially for gutting and everything else, able to kind of pull back the skin or whatever field dressing. Sorry, you're able to pull everything back a little bit easier. But it's also, I don't process my own deer. I just take it to the processor and stuff. So, but definitely any kind of field work and stuff like that, it's been great. So,
yeah.
But the elk that we shot October, we quartered it up in the field, and between the three buddies, we all had Jackstones, and we're whittling away. One guy was over there with their field sharpener, and sharpening that, or sharpening a knife, then pass it on. The next person, just kind of rotating out. Meanwhile, I was just over there taking photos the whole time. So.
Have you did you go to any TAC events?
I did. I went to the one in Oklahoma. I think it was like March or May. And I plan on going to another one. So this year, I was kind of thinking about maybe going up to Pennsylvania. I've heard that's a really good one as well. Yeah.
That's where we're going again. We went there last year, and
which is funny because everybody always wants to go to Big Sky, Colorado, or whatever else, to the out west. But I've heard that Pennsylvania is the one to go to. So yeah,
it's awesome. You gotta, for those that want to go, get on getting your place to stay early. Like we looked out and kind of around the ski hill, there's a bunch of condo townhouses, and a lot of them are for rent. So we nabbed one of those, and it was perfect. We had like a 3-minute drive to the parking lot. Like it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was really good. But for someone like we don't have access to a lot of the stuff that's readily available in the States, right? So going down on the Thursday, and we shot Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we walked around the vendor village, and it was like being a kid in a candy store. Like it
I
was just,
know.
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
It's dangerous. Yeah.
It's so dangerous. You round the corner, Dudley's standing there talking to someone. You can just go talk to him if
I
you
got
want.
starstruck when I saw him this last year. It's just so funny because you're just like, it's just like a kid and just like staring at him. It's just like he does exist. He's Santa Claus,
I,
So
and
because
he's
I mean,
exactly he's
if
exactly
you've
how he is on TV. Yeah.
been into any archery for any amount of time, you've stumbled across that guy at some
Oh
point.
yeah.
And some people love him, some people hate him. I've learned a lot from him. In fact, anytime I work on my bow, what do I go to? He's a wealth of knowledge between him, Levi Morgan, and some other guys. Like there's
Mhm.
a lot of information. That's how
Yeah.
I work on
We're
my
pretty.
bows. Like if I just go onto YouTube and say, how do I do this?
Yeah,
And
we're pretty
it
lucky. Like
works 60% of the time, every time. So
that's right. I was trying to tell my kids, I'm like, you don't understand how lucky you guys have it. You do a project, you're right to the internet, and you could
oh
probably
yeah.
find the answer. Whereas, like when we were really young, before the internet came out, it was encyclopedias,
I
and
didn't even
God,
have a
if it's
computer or
if
anything
it's
like
not
that.
if
Yeah.
it's not in there, you're screwed. You're going to the
Yeah.
library and getting books, right? It's just like-
I had to take like a computer class. I think when I was a junior in high school or something like that. And I didn't have my first laptop until probably like 2007 or something like
Mhm.
that. So I didn't even have the internet access until around that same time period. So yeah, like kids have chat GPT and this, that, and the other. I use chat GPT almost every day for my Instagram posts. Um, this like, so I'll come up with like an idea of what I want, and I'll put it in that, and just so I don't sound like a complete dum dum, and it spits it out, and and everything else, and I'll kind of tweak it here and there, and yeah, it's great, it's cool, and it's
Mhm.
scary because my kids have access to that. But at the same time, like my kids, I don't tell them this, but they're so much smarter than when I was in high school. So like they're like A's and B's, like mostly A's and like A, B, or two B's or something like that. It was like
Yeah.
I had C's, D's, and maybe an F, sprinkled in F in there. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
so much smarter than than me. So
Do you want to talk about your deer that you shot this year, or one of your hunting stories from this year?
yeah, sure. Probably talk about that big 10 point that I was talking about earlier. I've been chasing a couple different deer. I've got 3 or 4 big deer. It's all on public land, so but 3 or 4 or 5 big deer that it's just like I'd love to hang on the wall or something.
Mhm.
Um, and so the Wednesday before our Thanksgiving, not yours, uh, I was in the tree stand sitting there, freezing my butt off because we had like 20 mile-an-hour winds, something like that. And it was right about freezing. And it was 9:30, which I typically try to stay in the stand in the mornings until like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Try to stay as late as I can just because you never know, right?
Yep.
I wasn't feeling up to it or anything like that. It was cold, kind of miserable. Hadn't seen anything except for a squirrel or something like that. And kind of what to say, like I'm looking this way and I kind of caught movement up behind me for whatever reason. I'm kind of looking that way and I see like a couple does getting pushed by a big buck. Um, and they're on private, so I'm hunting pretty close to the public and private area. And they're kind of skirting the private, kind of going towards the river. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. At least I see something. It's like I'm not skunked,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
but then I caught movement off to this side, and I see the buck that I shot chasing a doe. Actually, in the video, he walks right past somebody else's ladder stand, which is kind of funny because if that guy was there, he would have shot him.
You would have shot it.
And actually, there was a couple weeks before I was sitting in my stand, I was already there, and that guy showed up probably like 45 minutes behind me. Like I'm wearing all stick, up a tree at 20 feet. I'm like, hey, he never saw me. I was about 90 yards or so away from him. But he
You
never saw me.
couldn't see in your Sitka.
Yeah, I know. It's just sick for it, man. I don't know. It's just such good camouflage. I was waving at him. I wasn't trying too hard, but I was like, yeah, whatever.
No.
My wind was blowing to him, so whatever.
Oh.
And I ended up getting down at dark. His buddy shot a deer a little ways down the way. I saw him with their headlights, so I went over there. I was like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" I told him where I was at. It's like, he's like, "Oh yeah." Then we just kind of chatted about it or whatever. But it's public land, you know. I don't get mad about it because if I
Yep.
stumble upon somebody, it's what it is.
Somebody
So
else thought
anyway,
it was a
so
good spot too.
yeah, yeah. So my that buck, he was chasing pushing a doe, and the first time I saw him was about 65, 70 yards. And in the video that I posted on Instagram, he's like comes in, you can tell he's just, I just, hot and bothered, breaking up that tree, kind of pushing that doe. And actually in the video as well, he gets done raking that tree and he goes to take a step left, but that doe comes right to me at 25 yards. And he comes following. I knew right away that he was going to come on a line right behind that doe to my left, which is my strong side, and he was going to die right there. And that's how it went. So unfortunately, I didn't get the shot on camera just because I was too busy, like shaking like a cat shitting a razor blade. So yeah, like it's all good in game. Whenever you're like 60, 70 yards, I'm like, I can film this all day long. But whenever they're like within shooting distance, I'm like, I fall apart, man.
Well,
So yeah,
you'd hate to lose the opportunity because you were reaching to turn your camera on or whatever, right?
yeah. So I think what I'm gonna do next year is obviously take a camera because I love filming. I love just filming the interaction of deer far away, but then they actually get the shot, the kill shot or whatever. Maybe get like a wide angle, not necessarily GoPro, but DJI or something like that.
Yeah, that's what.
Something that, yeah, it has like almost a 180-degree view on it. So
Mhm.
you have something. So
Yeah, that's what I
uh,
did when it got colder out here. I was like, I'm not bringing my new camera out there to get wrecked. So
yeah,
the weather was all over the map. We're getting rain, we're getting snow, and I was just like, I have a cell phone attachment for my um, fourth arrow camera arm, so I swapped that on just to get like a wider shot of me shooting. And
yeah,
then I picked up one of those DJI Osmo 4.
that's
The 5
yeah,
just came out, but the 4 was on sale. I'm like, fuck, it shoots in 4K, it's perfect. So I
oh
grabbed
yeah.
that and it had a nice big picture and I'm like, perfect. I'll just aim that down there and
Mm,
all I got to do is hit a couple of small buttons and I'm good to go. So,
yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do next year. I'll try to get it more on film, but self filming is hard. It's super hard. Like
yeah.
I filmed a doe a couple weeks back after I shot that buck. I shot a doe, and she actually stepped. I'm shooting with the 24 to 70 that day, and zoomed in at 70 mil, and she stepped out of frame, but then stepped back into frame, and that's when I shot her. But it wasn't even. I wasn't even like, all right, she's in frame or anything like that. It's like she's gonna die, and it just luckily it all
Yeah.
worked out that way. So. Uh, but then even then, like shooting with the camera and stuff like that, I was in a cedar tree and it has a whole bunch of limbs. So it was kind of randomly picking up these limbs and she was like kind of walking behind it or whatever else. So I don't know if I needed to get it up a little bit higher so I'm not focusing on those limbs, or
Mhm.
I haven't perfected my setup yet. So um but next week I got a buddy, a good friend of mine that we're always talking about hunting. He used to be stationed here. He's now stationed in South Carolina. He's coming and we're just going to do like a week long whitetail late season hunting and stuff. So I'm just going
Nice.
to follow him around and just film everything. So unfortunately, he shoots a Matthews. So I told him I'm going to Photoshop his dumb lift out in all of his photos and put a RVX in it. So, but it'll be a good
You
time. We got some good plans. So,
you say the end of February or end of January is your season?
for deer, it's January 15th.
January.
But elk season goes all the way to the 31st of January. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I still got a little bit of some time. I'll get a cow down on the ground. There, I saw like 40 or 50 of them today. So it's a
Wow.
target rich environment. So
That's a good problem
yeah,
to have.
yeah, and it's great. It only costs us about 100. So it's on Army post here about an hour away, and it's only open up to either retirees or active duty.
Oh,
And
nice.
Yeah, so it works out really well for us, and it's only $100, and it's like people pay thousands of dollars to go shoot these elk, and it's the same breed that's up in Colorado, you know, and it's fun. During October, whenever they have their season, they're out there bugling, like they're coming in all rutted up and everything else, and it's exactly like what you see in the videos and stuff, like
Hmm.
coming in and screaming at each other, this, that, and another. Just like four of them around us. It's a blast. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
even like this last year, I filmed my buddy. Once again, I need to get better at videoing. So I was more worried about him killing, you know. So I was bugling for him and filming, and I was able to bugle in a bugle, nice bull for him at 70 yards, and he shot it. But he was over a couple yards behind a tree, and by the time he shot, like the bull was behind the limbs and stuff like that. So it was still cool experience. And another buddy, he shot. It was kind of funny. I posted this video too. He shot at a bull, and it was about 45 yards, and he was like, that was, as soon as he shot, he was like, that wasn't 25 yards. So clean under, you know, by like 8 inches or whatever. So it's like, as soon as he shot, I just hear him. He's like, that wasn't 25, you know. It's like, bro.
Oh, yet we come back. Yet we come back year after year, right?
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, you know.
No. Always a student of archery. That's what we are.
Yeah, yeah. I need to, and that's what it's hard for me as well. Like I don't have a very big backyard, so I can shoot about 31 yards in my backyard. So I don't get to shoot as much as I'd like. And actually, I shoot more when I go to work, just because I take the target and I'll go on base, and I'll just go drop it somewhere, like in a field or something like that, and I'll shoot out
Hmm.
there. I like to practice a couple times a week, but still, even then, I don't feel like I get enough, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel like I'm always chasing that dream. So
Yeah. Is there any gear that you came across, either new or old, that you'll always take with you?
probably the bino harness is one of the biggest things. Uh, I think it's. I used to always like think like somebody would carry like binoculars or whatever, you know. And I when I was growing up, we would never carry binoculars. But now it's just like I will not leave the truck without binoculars. You know, there's such a good thing to have, and just having the bino harness, having everything right here.
Hmm.
Like I could, if I need to, I could jump out of the truck with my bino harness, go kill something. Is if it's long as, you know, within a mile or whatever from the truck, and I don't have to carry my bag a lot of times, you know. But I like to
Yeah.
do it. It makes me feel better, you know. So I paid for it, might as well use it. So, but it's like everything that I need is all right here, and that's like the one thing that, yeah,
Yeah, I'm always guilty of bringing too much, and
yeah,
same thing happened when we went to TAC. I was the only guy that brought a backpack,
yeah,
and the other guys were like, "What are you doing? We're just shooting like 25 targets." I'm like, "Yeah, but I always think, yeah, but we need water, and we should have this, and maybe we need that, and I'd bring a first aid kit with me just in case somebody cuts themselves. I got to help them out. Like I always, I overthink too much, and then I get out there lugging this fucking brick on my back. I'm like, this is
yeah.
dumb.
No wonder
So
I was shooting like shit. I couldn't
we
figure
get
out
off.
why.
That's right. We get off the chairlift, and I go right over to the Kifaru tent, and I walk in there, and I'm like, please tell me you guys have a hydro harness here, because I'm going to buy it right now. And they did. And I grabbed it, and I went back to the hotel room, click, 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 attaches right onto the bino harness. And that's all I wore for the rest of the weekend. And it
Yeah.
was perfect. It was awesome. So, yeah.
No, between especially for tack, I think obviously something to hold your arrows. Whoa, does the hydro harness, does it hold your arrows too? I remember.
No, it's not quite big enough for that. I had the
Okay.
field quiver.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's another thing for tack. You have to have a way to carry your, so, but like some people use just like a smaller book bag or whatever, or that field quiver. I'm kind
mhm.
of, especially if I'm trying to take photos and stuff. Sometimes I'll try to bring my book bag, but then I think Jeff Cordero,
Yep.
he posted, and he puts his camera on his field quiver. So I'm gonna have to dig through some photos and stuff like
Ooh.
that. So that might be a game changer. So
Yeah, I just had him on a couple days ago.
oh really? He seems
He's
like a good dude.
he's awesome dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
He and
Just
his wife just bought an archery shop.
yeah, I think I saw that on Instagram. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've been following him on YouTube for a while. It seems like a good dude. I could probably get down and shoot some targets and drink some beer with him or
Oh,
something.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah,
So.
he's a gem for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, I don't want to talk your ear off all night. I'm sure we could, but
Oh man, we've been on
let
here for over an hour already. I went quick.
that's okay. I
So
don't care, but
yeah.
let everybody know how they can find you.
Yeah, so mainly on everything on Instagram is AP86, I think underscore media or something like that. Don't ask about the name. I don't know. It's still kind of a work in progress. I don't know if that I'll continue with that name or for now that's what it is. So me and the wife have tried to come up with different names here and there, but we just never solidified anything. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't have a cool last name or anything like that to to like a lot of people that have cool names or this, that, and other. It's just like I've never thought that about my name, so it just never worked out. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any
But
big adventures planned for 2025?
no, man. Surviving, honestly. I don't have any big adventures, big plans. I don't have any big hunts scheduled or anything like that. Uh, Not saying it won't happen, but honestly, for where I live here in Oklahoma, I have elk, I have deer, I
Yeah,
have aoudad.
you got everything you need
If I
right
want
there.
to, I could go up and get pronghorn. Like I don't need to leave. I don't
You don't
need to
need to
go
go
anywhere
anywhere.
else. So
That's
I
awesome.
got a buddy down in Texas that does some guiding and stuff like that. But I might ask him, maybe go out with him or something like that. I don't know.
Hmm.
But then I don't know anything about um, getting licenses for out of state and stuff like that. I've never had to do it. So,
Right.
so it's one of those things. It's kind of intimidating. So,
Hmm.
and it's also,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah.
uh,
Well, that's
yeah,
what's like. I always watch the states. You guys can jump from one to the next so quickly, and we're like where I am in Ontario. If I want to go anywhere else, it's gonna take me 3 fucking days to drive out of the province to get. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like
Oh yeah, man.
unless you're jumping on a plane or you're jumping over into the states, which I
Yeah, to
haven't
go
tried yet.
from where you're at in Windsor to all the way to, we'll just say Quebec or whatever, that's what, 6, 7, 8 hours or something like that. Like,
Hmm.
because you're 3 hours to Toronto roughly, and then 3 hours from there to Montreal. Is it Montreal? I think roughly.
It's about 4. I think it's about 4.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's like 4 or 5 something. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was two
Yeah.
hours to Trenton, then about another 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like that's compared to me. Like I could go south 40 miles and I'll be in Texas. Or
Yeah.
I could go drive 6, 8 hours north. 6 hours I'll be in Kansas. 8 hours I could be in Colorado. But yeah, it's all over the place. So
Yeah, I'm hoping to get out to BC to try and go for elk again. I did that a couple years ago. We had a
yeah,
blast, but came home empty-handed, which is fine. We had an amazing experience, but
yeah, that's
want
what
to
it's
get
about
back out
sometimes.
there.
So
Hmm. Anyway, all right. I'm sure we'll have you on again, and we'll talk soon.
yep, I enjoyed it.
Thanks.